Millionaire sees his cleaning lady with her daughter sleeping on the street and does the unthinkable. Michael Thompson slammed on the brakes when he saw the scene that left him speechless. There, under the overpass on Fifth Avenue, he recognized his cleaning lady hugging a small child, both covered only by old blankets and pieces of cardboard. Amanda Wilson had always arrived punctually at 6 in the morning at his office for over 5 years. She never missed a day, never complained about the minimum wage, and always kept everything spotless. But there she was, shielding her little girl from the cold New York dawn in a situation he never could have imagined. The businessman sat frozen in his car for long minutes, trying to process what he was seeing. Amanda seemed to be asleep, clutching the girl, who couldn't have been more than 6 years old, tightly. The light blue blanket covering them was dirty and torn. Beside them lay a small pink school backpack and a plastic bag with a few belongings. Michael felt a tightness in his chest. How had his employee, a woman so dignified and organized, ended up like this? And why had he never noticed anything? For all these years, Amanda had arrived early, done her work quietly, and left. He barely spoke to her beyond a hurried, "Good morning." He thought about getting out of the car to offer help, but something held him back. Would it embarrass her? How should he approach the situation? He decided to go home and think it over. He couldn't sleep all night. The image of the mother and daughter under the overpass wouldn't leave his mind. The next morning, he arrived at the office earlier than usual, eager to see Amanda. He wanted to talk to her, understand what had happened, and figure out how to help. But she never showed up. By 8, he called his secretary. "Mrs. Jenkins, did Amanda come in today?" he asked, trying to sound casual. "Oh, Mr. Thompson, she sent a message last night saying she wouldn't be coming back. She quit due to personal issues. It was really strange. She never missed a day in 5 years." Michael fell silent for a few seconds. Amanda had quit right after he'd seen her on the street. Was it a coincidence, or had she seen him too? "Do we have her address on file?" he asked. "Yes, sir. Maple Street, 234, Greenwich Village." At the end of the day, Michael decided to stop by the address. He needed to talk to Amanda, understand her situation, and offer help. But when he arrived, he discovered that number 234 didn't exist. The street ended at 180. He asked a few neighbors, but no one knew Amanda Wilson. He returned to the office confused and worried. How had his employee given a fake address? For 5 years, she'd worked for him, and he didn't even know where she really lived. Over the next few days, Michael couldn't focus on work. He passed by the overpass where he'd seen her, but the mother and daughter were gone. He asked the local homeless community, but no one recognized them. It was as if they'd vanished. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us newcomers. Now back to the story. Anguish consumed Michael. He began questioning how many details of his employees' lives he'd ignored. Amanda had been punctual and efficient, but he'd never bothered to know her as a person. Were other employees also struggling without him realizing it? He decided to hire a private investigator. Richard Bailey was discreet and efficient, recommended by a lawyer friend. After a week of digging, Richard came back with information that shocked Michael even more. "Mr. Thompson, I found Amanda Wilson," Richard said, sitting across from the businessman. "Her situation is more complicated than we thought." "Where is she? How's the little girl?" "They've been living in temporary shelters around the city. I found out they were evicted 4 months ago from the apartment they were renting. The landlord sold the property and didn't renew the lease. Since then, they've been sleeping in different places." Michael Thompson felt a heavy weight in his chest. 4 months. Amanda Wilson had been going through this for 4 months and still showed up to work like nothing was wrong. Why didn't she come to me? Why didn't she tell me what was happening? Richard hesitated before answering. "Sir, I spoke to some people who know her. She was terrified of losing her job. She knew some employers don't like employees with personal problems. Her paycheck was the family's only income." The revelation hit Michael like a punch to the gut. Amanda had chosen to sleep on the streets rather than risk losing her job. And he, who always considered himself a good boss, had never created an environment where she felt safe enough to share her struggles. Is there anything else I should know? Michael asked, sensing there was more. Yes. Amanda has a brother, David Wilson. He worked for your company about 7 years ago. Michael tried to remember. After so many years in business, there had been so many employees. David Wilson. I don't recall him specifically. He was laid off during cost-cutting in 2018. He was in maintenance. From what I gathered, he was Amanda's main financial support. After losing his job, he fell into depression and couldn't work anymore. That's why she became the family's sole provider. The world seemed to spin around Michael. His business decision to cut costs in 2018 hadn't just affected David, it had indirectly hurt Amanda and her daughter. There had been 200 layoffs that year. He remembered the board meeting where they'd approved the cuts to maintain profit margins. Richard, I need to find her. I need to talk to her. Sir, she's made it clear to several people she doesn't want contact with you. She found out you saw her on the street and felt humiliated. She's terrified this might somehow harm her daughter. Michael ran a hand through his hair, feeling lost. How could he fix a situation he'd unknowingly helped create? Is there any way I can reach her? Any place she goes to? Yes, her daughter Emily attends a community daycare in the Bronx. The director is a woman named Ms. Patterson. Maybe she can help arrange contact. The next day, Michael drove to the south side of New York City. The daycare was in a modest neighborhood, a repurposed house serving about 40 children from the community. Ms. Patterson, a black woman in her 60s, greeted him with suspicion. "You're Amanda's boss?" she asked, sizing him up. "I was. She quit a few weeks ago. I'm worried about her and Emily." "Worried?" Ms. Patterson crossed her arms. "In 5 years working for you, you never asked how she was. Now, when she's at her lowest, you show up concerned." The daycare director wasn't being rude, just direct. Michael realized she protected Amanda like a mother would her own child. "You're right. I failed as an employer. But I want to help now. I want to do what I can." "You know what you can do? Leave her alone. Amanda is a proud, hard-working woman. She doesn't need your pity." "It's not pity. It's responsibility. I found out her brother worked for me and was laid off. Maybe I can fix some mistakes." Ms. Patterson studied him for a moment, as if trying to read his soul. "Emily's been sick for 3 weeks. A cough that won't go away, fever that comes and goes. Sleeping on the streets hasn't been good for her health." "Is she getting medical treatment?" "She's being treated at the health clinic, but the line is long and the treatment is slow. Amanda gets desperate, but refuses to accept help from anyone connected to you." Michael felt his heart tighten, a sick child because of a situation he could have prevented. "Miss Patterson, can I wait here? I'd like to talk to Amanda when she comes to pick up Emily. You can wait, but I can't guarantee she'll want to speak with you." Michael spent the afternoon at the daycare, watching the children play. Emily was a beautiful girl, with curly hair and bright eyes, but it was clear she was worn down. She coughed several times that afternoon and seemed tired. At 5 in the evening, Amanda arrived. Michael recognized her immediately, but she looked different, thinner, with deep, dark circles under her eyes and clothes that looked like they'd been worn for days. When she saw him, she stopped at the door, clearly surprised and uncomfortable. "Amanda, can I talk to you for a few minutes?" She glanced at Ms. Patterson, who gave a subtle gesture as if to say, "It's your call." Emily ran into her mother's arms and Amanda held her tightly. "Mommy, is that the man from your work?" the little girl asked, recognizing Michael from the few times he'd visited the office. "Yes, sweetheart. Go play with Miss Patterson while I talk to him, okay?" Emily obeyed but kept coughing. Amanda and Michael stepped out into the small backyard of the daycare. "I know you saw me," Amanda said, looking at the ground. "That's why I quit. I didn't want your pity." "It's not pity, Amanda. It's guilt. I found out your brother worked for me." She looked up, startled. "What do you mean?" "David Wilson. He was let go in 2018 when we made cuts at the company. He was your support, wasn't he?" Amanda clenched her fists, anger flashing in her eyes. "You remember him now, after 7 years?" "I didn't recall. There were so many layoffs. But now I understand. I understand how my decisions hurt your family. Your decisions? Her voice rose. David wasn't just a number on a spreadsheet. He had a family, responsibilities. When he lost his job, he fell into such a deep depression he can't work anymore. He stays locked in his room all day on heavy medication. Michael swallowed hard. Every word from Amanda cut like a knife. Because of your business decisions, I became the only income for our family. I have to support my daughter, help pay for my brother's meds, and still cover the bills. And when I couldn't pay rent anymore, you know what I did? I kept working, because I knew if I missed a day, I'd lose my job. Amanda, I didn't know. Of course you didn't. In 5 years, how many times did you ask how I was? How many times did you care if I had kids or problems? To you, I was just the woman who cleaned your office. Amanda's words echoed in the quiet backyard. Michael realized she was right about every accusation. He really had treated her as invisible. You're right. I was a terrible boss. But I want to make it right now. I want to offer your job back with a raise. I want to help you out of this situation. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now back to the story. Amanda shook her head. I don't want your charity, Mr. Thompson. I want dignity. It's not charity, it's justice. Justice would have been you treating your employees like people from the start. Justice would have been you asking if I was okay when I showed up to work with red eyes from crying. Michael fell silent, realizing anything he said would sound like a cheap excuse. Besides, Amanda continued, I already found another job. I don't need you anymore. Another job? Where? At a cleaning cooperative. We earn less than minimum wage, but we share the profits. And more importantly, we're treated like people, not ghosts. Michael was surprised. A cooperative? What do you mean, a cooperative? A group of women who were in the same situation as me. All of them lost their jobs or went through hardships. We decided to join forces and offer cleaning services to small businesses. We don't earn much, but we have dignity and a share in the results. Before Michael could respond, Emily came running out of the daycare and threw herself into her mother's arms, coughing violently. The cough was so strong that the little girl couldn't catch her breath for a few seconds. Emily! Amanda held her desperately. Breathe, sweetheart, breathe! The little girl tried to speak, but the coughing wouldn't stop. Her lips turned blue, and she fainted in her mother's arms. Call 911, Amanda shouted to Miss Patterson. Call now. Michael pulled his car keys from his pocket. Let's go to the nearest hospital. It's faster than waiting for an ambulance. Amanda hesitated for a second, but seeing her daughter's condition, she agreed. They rushed to Michael's car, with the unconscious girl in her mother's arms. On the way to the hospital, Amanda cried and spoke to Emily. Hold on, my princess. Mommy's here. Everything's going to be okay. Michael drove as fast as he could, feeling helpless in the face of a mother's despair. When they arrived at the emergency room of Mercy General Hospital, the doctors quickly attended to Emily. After 2 hours of waiting, the pediatrician came out of the emergency room. He was a young man around 30 with a serious expression. Ms. Wilson, I'm Dr. Roberts. Your daughter is stable now. What's wrong with her, doctor? Emily has developed severe bacterial pneumonia. The infection reached her lungs, which is why she fainted. It's a direct result of weeks of exposure to cold and damp conditions. Amanda covered her face with her hands, blaming herself. It's my fault for not being able to give her a proper home. Ma'am, don't blame yourself. What matters is that you got here in time. But I need to be honest. The treatment will be long and expensive. She needs specific antibiotics and intensive care for at least a month. How much will it cost, doctor? Through public health care, she'd be put on a waiting list, but her condition can't wait. Privately, it would be around $12,000. Amanda's legs trembled. $12,000 was more money than she saw in an entire year. Doctor, is there any way, any assistance program? Unfortunately, our social services are overwhelmed. The waiting list is 3 months long. Michael, who had been listening silently, stepped forward. Doctor, I'll cover all the treatment costs. No! Amanda turned to him, furious. I won't accept it. Amanda, your daughter has severe pneumonia. This isn't the time for pride. Pride? You think this is about pride? It's dignity. I don't want to owe you any favors, Dr. Roberts intervened. Let's all calm down. The girl needs to start treatment today. While you figure out payment, we'll begin the procedures. We can discuss costs later. Amanda reluctantly agreed. Emily was admitted to a pediatric ward, hooked up to IVs and monitors. Seeing her like that broke her mother's heart. Can I stay here with her? She asked the doctor. Of course, in fact, it's recommended she has her mother nearby. Michael offered to pay for a private room, but Amanda refused outright. She preferred to stay in the general ward, where other mothers were also watching over their children. That night, Michael lay awake, thinking about the situation. He couldn't simply pay for the treatment against Amanda's wishes, but he also couldn't let a child suffer because of pride. The next day, he had an idea. He returned to the hospital and looked for Amanda, who was sitting by Emily's bedside. How was her night? Better. The fever went down a little, Amanda replied without looking at him. Amanda, I want to make you a proposal. Not about paying for Emily's treatment, but about work. She eyed him suspiciously. What kind of proposal? You said you work at a cleaning cooperative. What if I hired your cooperative's services for my company? How so? My company needs cleaning services. Instead of hiring a traditional company, I could hire your cooperative. It would be a big contract, enough to improve the income of all the women involved. Amanda fell silent, processing the offer. And you'd do this just to help me? I'd do it to help all of you, and also because I realized I need to change how I do business. I need to work with companies that value their employees, not exploit them. I'd have to talk to the other women in the cooperative, especially Ms. Washington, our president. Can I speak directly with her? I don't know if she'll agree. Ms. Washington is 65 and has been through a lot in life. She doesn't trust business people easily. Michael smiled for the first time in days. Then let's see if I can earn her trust. Amanda hesitated, but eventually agreed to arrange the meeting. She called Ms. Washington and explained the situation. After a long conversation, the cooperative's president agreed to meet with Michael but set strict conditions. She wants the meeting to be at the cooperative's headquarters, with all the members present, and she made it clear she won't accept any offers out of pity or charity, Amanda explained. I understand. When can we meet? Tomorrow afternoon if you'd like. But Mr. Thompson, these women have suffered a lot. If you're doing this just to ease your conscience. It's not to ease my conscience, Amanda. It's to start doing things right. The next day, Michael went to the cooperative's headquarters, located in a modest house in the Bronx. Ms. Washington greeted him, accompanied by 12 other women, all between 30 and 70 years old. Mr. Thompson, was it? Said Ms. Washington, a black woman with graying hair and a piercing gaze. Sit down and explain your proposal. Michael looked around. The women watched him with a mix of curiosity and distrust. Some looked tired, others defiant. All had stories of struggle written on their faces. Ms. Washington, ladies, thank you for having me. My proposal is simple. My company needs cleaning services, and I'd like to hire your cooperative. Why not hire one of those big companies that exploit workers? Asked a younger woman around 40. Because I want to work with people who value dignity in work. I recently realized my business decisions have hurt many families, and I want to start doing things differently. Ms. Washington leaned forward. Mr. Thompson, I'll be straight with you. We're not naive here. We've worked for plenty of bosses who talked pretty when hiring us, then treated us worse than dogs. I understand your distrust. You understand? Another woman interrupted. Have you ever been humiliated by a boss? Been called stupid just because you didn't have an education? Worked sick because you couldn't afford to miss a day? Michael stayed silent, knowing any response would fall short. Ms. Washington continued. If you want to work with us, you'll have to accept our terms. First, fair wages, never less than 1.5 times the minimum wage for each of us. Second, quarterly profit sharing. Third, total respect for the workers. I agree to all the conditions. I'm not finished yet, said Ms. Washington firmly. Fourth, paid vacation. Fifth, basic health insurance. Sixth, If any of us gets sick or has a family emergency, she can't be fired for it. Michael Thompson was surprised by the women's organization and determination. I accept all the conditions. Can I draft an official contract? You can, but first you need to hear each of our stories. If you're going to work with us, you have to know who we are. For the next 2 hours, Michael listened to stories that moved him deeply. Ms. Washington had been a housekeeper for 40 years and was fired at 62 when her employer decided she was too old. Deborah lost her job when she got pregnant at 45. Sarah was dismissed after missing 3 days to care for her sick mother. Every one of us here has been treated as invisible, Ms. Washington concluded. That's why we created this cooperative, to prove that working women deserve respect and dignity. And whose idea was it to start the cooperative? Michael asked. Amanda's, one of the women answered. She's the one who brought us together and suggested we organize. She said we'd be stronger together. Michael looked at Amanda, who was blushing from the attention. You created all this? I just suggested we come together. Each of us was struggling alone. It's more than that, Ms. Washington said. Amanda went door to door, convincing each of us to try. When some wanted to give up early on, she kept us going. This cooperative exists because of her strength. Michael felt growing admiration for Amanda. She hadn't just survived hardships, she'd helped other women organize. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now back to the story. Well, Mr. Thompson, Ms. Washington said, if you accept our terms, we'll do a 3-month trial period. If it works, we'll renew the contract. Perfect. When can we start? On Monday. But there's one thing. Amanda won't be able to work the first few weeks. She needs to care for her daughter in the hospital. Of course. And her wages will still be paid as usual. Ms. Washington smiled for the first time since the meeting began. I think we'll get along just fine, Mr. Thompson. In the days that followed, as Emily recovered in the hospital, Michael began rethinking his entire approach to business. He spoke with other employees at his company and discovered stories similar to Amanda's. Nancy at reception was struggling financially, but never spoke up. Kevin in the warehouse cared for his mother with Alzheimer's, but never asked for special hours. Michael decided to hold a company-wide meeting. He wanted to implement changes, creating a more humane and supportive environment. But when he presented his ideas to the company's partners, he faced resistance. Michael, have you lost your mind? Said Robert, his partner of 15 years. Health insurance for everyone? Profit sharing? That'll destroy our margins. Robert, our margins have been strong for years. We can spare some profit to take better care of our employees. And why would we do that? Asked William, the third partner. Employees already get a salary. If they want more, they can find another job. Michael realized his partners thought exactly as he had not long ago. Have you ever stopped to think how much talent we've lost by not valuing people? Talent? Robert laughed. Michael, we're talking about cleaners, receptionists, warehouse staff. It's not hard to replace them. That's exactly the mindset that needs to change. Every employee is a person with a family, dreams, and problems. If we don't take care of them, how can we expect them to take good care of the company? The discussion went on for hours. Robert and William threatened to call a shareholders' meeting to remove him from the company presidency if he insisted on the changes. You're being too sentimental, Michael, said William. Business is business. You can't mix it with emotions. And if I don't give up on the changes, then we'll have to vote you out as president, replied Robert sternly. Michael left the meeting shaken. He had built that company over 20 years, and now he might lose it just for wanting to treat employees with dignity. That night he visited Emily at the hospital. The girl was doing much better, playing with other patients. Amanda seemed more at ease. How is she? Michael asked. Much better. The doctor said she might be discharged next week, Amanda replied, smiling. That's good. And how was the first day with the cooperative at the company? The women were amazed. They said they'd never been treated so well in any job. Ms. Washington even cried when the security guard at the entrance greeted her by name. Michael smiled, but Amanda noticed something was bothering him. Did something happen? My partners didn't like the changes I'm implementing. They threatened to remove me as president. Because of us? Not just you, because of all the changes I want to make to value employees. Amanda was silent for a few minutes. Mr. Thompson, you don't have to risk your company for our sake. It's not just for you, it's for me. I realized I've been running the company the wrong way for years. I treated people like numbers, like replaceable parts. I don't want to be that kind of businessman anymore. And if you lose the company, then I'll find another way to work, a way that lets me sleep in peace. 3 days later, Michael got an unexpected call from his secretary. Mr. Thompson, there's a woman here who wants to speak with you. She says she's from the cooperative. Michael went downstairs and found Ms. Washington waiting in the lobby, wearing her best dress and carrying a folder of documents. Ms. Washington, what a surprise to see you here. Mr. Thompson, I need to speak with you. It's about your shareholders' meeting. Michael was surprised. How did you hear about the meeting? Walls have ears, young man. The employees heard the argument you had with your partners. Everyone's worried. I see. I came here to say one thing. We won't accept you losing your company because of us. Ms. Washington, it's not just, yes, it is. And I have a proposal. At the meeting, let us speak. Let us show your partners what it means to be treated with dignity. Michael hesitated. I don't know if that's a good idea. They might be rude to you. Son, I've faced worse in my life. And I'm not alone. All the women from the cooperative want to come. You'd do that? Of course. You gave us a chance when no one else would. Now it's our turn to help you. On the day of the meeting, Michael arrived at the office anxious. Robert and William were already in the conference room, accompanied by their lawyers. They had prepared a list of arguments against the proposed changes. Michael, we hope you've reconsidered your ideas, said Robert. We can still cancel this meeting if you back down. I won't back down, but before we vote, I'd like you to hear from some people. What people? At that moment, Ms. Washington entered the room, followed by all the women from the cooperative and several company employees. Amanda was there too, having left the hospital just for this occasion. Robert and William looked visibly uncomfortable with the presence of so many ordinary people in the executive conference room. Michael, what is this? Asked William. This is a private partners meeting. It's a meeting about the company's future, and these people are part of the company. Ms. Washington approached the table where the partners were seated. Gentlemen, excuse me, my name is Patricia Washington Jones, and I represent the United Women Cooperative. Robert looked at her with disdain. Ma'am, this is not a union assembly. Please leave. We will leave, said Ms. Washington calmly. But first, we want to tell you what it means to work with dignity. For the next 15 minutes, Ms. Washington spoke about the difference between being treated as a person and being treated as an object. She shared how the changes implemented by Michael had transformed not only their work, but their lives. Gentlemen, I am 65 years old, she said. I worked for 40 years being humiliated, disrespected, treated as if I were invisible. When I came to Mr. Michael's company, for the first time in 40 years, someone asked my name, asked how I was, treated me like a human being. Robert tried to interrupt, but Ms. Washington continued. You may think this doesn't matter, that employees are only here to work. But I'll tell you something, when we're treated well, we work better. When we're respected, we respect the company. Amanda stood up and asked to speak. Gentlemen, my name is Amanda Wilson. I worked for Mr. Michael for 5 years as an invisible employee. He didn't even know where I lived, didn't know I had a daughter, didn't know about my struggles. Her voice trembled slightly, but she went on. When my daughter got sick because of the hardships I faced, Mr. Michael could have simply paid for the treatment and been done with it. But he did something far more important. He gave me the opportunity to work with dignity. Ma'am, Robert interrupted, we appreciate your testimony, but let her finish, Michael said firmly. Gentlemen, you think treating employees well is an expense, but it's an investment. When we feel valued, we give our best. The cooperative's productivity increased by 30% in the first month because we work happily. Kevin, from the warehouse, also asked to speak. Gentlemen, I've worked here for 10 years. No one ever asked if I needed anything. My mother has Alzheimer's, and I always had to lie when I needed to take her to the doctor. Now, Mr. Michael has given me flexible hours, and my productivity has improved because I'm no longer worried about my mother. One by one, the employees shared their experiences. Nancy spoke about how the health plan saved her son from an expensive surgery. Brian shared how profit sharing motivated him to suggest process improvements. Robert and William listened in silence, visibly uncomfortable. When everyone finished speaking, the room fell silent for a few minutes. "Well," Robert finally said, "it was interesting to hear from all of you, but you must understand that a company needs to make a profit to survive." "Mr. Robert," Ms. Washington said, "may I ask a question? How much did you profit last year?" Robert hesitated. "That's confidential information." $2.5 million, Michael answered. "Each partner received over $800,000 in profit." Ms. Washington did the math in her head. "And how much would it cost to implement all the changes, Mr. Michael wants to make about $200,000 a year," William admitted. "So you'd be giving up 8% of your profit to transform the lives of 50 families." The silence that followed was deafening. Robert and William had no answer for such a simple, direct question. Ms. Washington continued, "Gentlemen, I don't understand big numbers, but I understand people. You can choose between earning $800,000 or $730,000 a year. For you, it's a small difference. For us, it's the difference between dignity and humiliation." Amanda stepped closer to the table. "Gentlemen, you don't have to like us. You don't have to be our friends. You just need to treat us like people, that's all we're asking for." The meeting was adjourned so the partners could discuss privately. Michael, the women from the cooperative, and the employees waited in the hallway. "You were incredible," Michael said to Ms. Washington. "I've never seen such convincing arguments. Son, the truth always convinces. The problem is when people don't want to hear it." After an hour of discussion, Robert and William called Michael back into the room. "Michael, we talked and we've decided to partially approve your proposals." "Partially. We're approving the basic health plan and flexible hours for special cases, but profit sharing will only happen after a 1-year trial." Michael glanced at Ms. Washington, who gave a discreet nod of approval. It was a start. "Approved," Michael said. In the following months, the change in the company was visible. Employees arrived more motivated, turnover dropped drastically, and productivity increased. The cooperative became an example within the company, always delivering impeccable service. Emily fully recovered from pneumonia and went back to studying at Ms. Patterson's daycare. Amanda managed to rent a small 2-bedroom apartment, and her life finally stabilized. Michael began visiting the cooperative regularly, not as a boss, but as someone eager to learn about humane management. The women always welcomed him warmly, but without subservience. 6 months later, something unexpected happened. A journalist from the business magazine Business and People heard about the cooperative story and wanted to write a feature. The article was published under the headline, "The Quiet Revolution: How a Cleaning Cooperative Transformed a Company." The impact was enormous. Other businesses started reaching out to the cooperative, wanting to hire their services. Soon, Ms. Washington found herself managing contracts with 15 different companies. "Mr. Michael," she said during one of his visits, "I never imagined our cooperative would grow this much. We already have 40 women working with us." "You deserve every bit of this success, Ms. Washington. You've proven it's possible to work with dignity and still be efficient. You know the most beautiful part? Every new woman who comes here arrives broken, without hope. And in no time she transforms, she becomes confident, dignified." Amanda, now the cooperative's treasurer, was radiant. "Mr. Michael, next week I'm giving a talk at a university about social entrepreneurship. I never thought I'd do something like this in my life." Michael smiled. "You always had it in you, Amanda. You just needed the opportunity to show it. And you? How's your company?" "Better than ever." Robert and William finally understood that happy employees work better. "We just approved profit sharing for next year." A year later, the cooperative had become a national phenomenon. Ms. Washington was invited to speak at business conferences. Amanda became a consultant in humane management, and their story inspired the creation of other cooperatives across the country. Michael also reaped the rewards of the changes. His company was awarded Best Place to Work Us in New York City, and he became a reference in humane management. But the most special moment came one Thursday morning when Emily, now 7 years old and fully recovered, showed up at Michael's office holding a drawing. "Uncle Michael," she said, using the affectionate nickname she'd given him, "I made this for you." Michael unfolded the paper and saw a colorful drawing of several smiling women working together. In the center, a little girl holding hands with her mother. In the corner, a man in a suit, but this time he was smiling too. "It's beautiful, Emily. What does it mean?" "It's my mom when she was sad, and when she became happy. You're here because you helped her be happy." Michael felt his eyes well up. "Your mother has always been strong, Emily. She's the one who helped herself and so many others." "I know. But Mommy said even strong people sometimes need help, and you helped at just the right time." Amanda arrived to pick up her daughter. "Emily, you can't bother Mr. Thompson while he's working." "She never bothers me," Michael said. "On the contrary, she reminds me of what really matters." Amanda looked at the drawing in Michael's hands. "She loves drawing happy stories now." And she's right. You turned a sad story into a happy one. Not just us, Mr. Thompson, all of us together. When mother and daughter left, Michael hung the drawing on the wall behind his desk, next to his diplomas and awards. To him, that drawing was worth more than any professional recognition. That afternoon, he got a call from Ms. Washington. "Mr. Thompson, I have news to share." "What news, Ms. Washington?" "The city approved our project. We're opening the first branch of the cooperative downtown. And guess where it'll be?" "Where?" "Right under the overpass where Amanda and Emily used to sleep. We're turning that space into a cooperative headquarters that will employ 30 more women." Michael was moved. The place that represented the hardest moment in Amanda's life would now become a symbol of hope for other women. "That's incredible, Ms. Washington. Do you want me there for the opening?" "Of course we do. After all, you're part of this story. You're the ones who are part of my story. You taught me that success isn't just measured in numbers, but in lives changed." During the week of the opening, Michael was anxious. The ceremony would be simple but meaningful. Alongside the cooperative members, representatives from the city, partner businesses and journalists would attend. On the day, Michael arrived early. The old overpass had been transformed into a modern little headquarters, with an office, meeting room, and even a space for employees' children to play while their mothers worked. Amanda greeted him at the entrance, wearing a blue blazer that made her look like an executive. "Mr. Thompson, I'm glad you're early. I want to show you something." She led him to a wall where a bronze plaque was mounted. Michael read aloud, "United Women Cooperative, Downtown Headquarters, inaugurated March 15, 2025, dedicated to all women who believe dignified work transforms lives." "The plaque is beautiful," Michael said. "Read the bottom," Amanda urged. Michael looked and saw a smaller second plaque. "This headquarters exists thanks to the support of businessman Michael Thompson, who taught us that partnership is better than charity and that dignity isn't given, it's built together." Michael was speechless. "Amanda, you didn't have to—" "Yes, we did. You were so much more than a boss to us. You were a partner in building our dreams." The ceremony was emotional. Ms. Washington gave a speech about resilience and unity. The mayor praised the initiative. Several cooperative members shared their stories of transformation. When it was Michael's turn to speak, he stepped up to the microphone with a full heart. 2 years ago, I was a businessman who believed success meant only profit. I treated employees like numbers, not people, until the day I saw my cleaning lady sleeping on the street with her little girl." The audience listened in complete silence. That moment made me realize how many lives I had ignored, how many stories I hadn't heard. Amanda and all of you didn't just teach me about humanized management. You taught me about humanity. He looked at Amanda, who was in the front row with Emily in her arms. "Today, our partnership employs over 70 women, supports 70 families, and inspires other companies to rethink their practices. But the most important thing isn't the numbers. It's knowing that each of these women goes home every day feeling respected and valued. The applause was long and sincere. After the ceremony, as people mingled, Emily approached Michael. "Uncle Michael, can I ask you something?" "Of course, sweetheart." "Why did you help Mommy?" Michael knelt to meet the girl's height. "Because your mother taught me that everyone deserves respect and opportunity, and because the two of you made me a better person. Mommy said when I grow up I can work at the cooperative too. If that's what you want, I'm sure you'll be very welcome. But you can be anything you dream of. I want to be like Mommy, strong and brave." Michael smiled. "You already are like your mother, Emily, and I'm sure you'll do amazing things in life." Later, as the celebration was winding down, Michael found Amanda organizing the chairs. "Leave that for tomorrow. Today is for celebrating." "I'm used to keeping everything in order," she said, smiling. "Amanda, can I ask you a personal question?" "Of course. Do you forgive me for the years I treated you as invisible?" Amanda stopped arranging the chairs and looked him in the eyes. "Mr. Thompson, there's nothing to forgive. You didn't see me because you lived in a different world than mine. What matters is that when you truly saw us, you chose to do things differently. Still, I regret not being a better boss from the start. If it had been different from the beginning, maybe this cooperative wouldn't exist. Maybe those 70 women would still be suffering alone. Sometimes things happen at the right time." Michael reflected on her words. "You're right. And now?" "Now we keep building. The cooperative plans to reach 100 women by the end of the year. And you? What are your next plans?" "I want to create an institute to help other companies implement humanized management, and maybe write a book telling our story." "A book? What would you call it?" Michael thought for a moment. "What I saw under the overpass. How a janitor taught me to be a businessman." Amanda laughed. "I like it. But I think it should be, what I learned under the overpass, how 70 women transformed a company." "Much better. Want to write it with me?" "Me? I've never written anything but grocery lists. But you have the best stories to tell." 2 years later, the book was published and became a bestseller in the business category. Michael and Amanda were invited to speak across the country. The cooperative had grown to 200 women and become a national model for social entrepreneurship. At one of these talks in Washington, D.C., a businesswoman approached Amanda after the event. "Ms. Wilson, my name is Jennifer. I heard your story and was moved. I run a tech company with 50 employees and would love to implement your practices." "That's wonderful, Jennifer. I'd be happy to help. Actually, I have a janitor, Ms. Maria. She's worked for me for 3 years, and I've never spoken to her beyond a greeting. After hearing you, I realized I don't even know if she has a family." Amanda smiled. "Why not start by asking how she's doing when you see her at work tomorrow?" "That's all? It's the first step. Genuine interest in people always transforms relationships." 6 months later, Jennifer sent a message to Amanda. "Ms. Wilson, I wanted to thank you. I found out that Ms. Maria supports 3 grandchildren all by herself. I created a scholarship program for employees' children and raised her salary by 40%. The company's productivity increased and the work environment improved a lot. Thank you for teaching me to see people." Amanda showed the message to Michael, who was visiting the cooperative's new headquarters. "See, your story inspired a businesswoman to change." "Our story," Michael corrected. "And this is just one of hundreds of messages we've received. It seems our experience is really transforming other businesses. Who would have thought a janitor sleeping on the street would spark a quiet revolution in the business world?" Amanda said, laughing. "A revolution based on a very simple idea, treating people like people." At that moment, Emily rushed into the room. Now 9 years old, she was a bright and lively girl. "Mom, Uncle Michael, come see. There's a news story about our cooperative on TV." The 3 hurried to the room where the TV was on. The reporter was interviewing Ms. Washington, now 68 but more active than ever. "Ms. Washington, how do you see the cooperative's growth?" asked the journalist. "Well, young man, when we started, we were 12 desperate women just wanting to work with dignity. Today, we're 200 empowered women inspiring others across the country. And what's the secret to your success?" "There's no secret. It's hard work, unity, and respect. When you treat people right, they respond right. Do you have a message for other women going through tough times? Ms. Washington looked straight into the camera. My message is, don't give up. Together, we're stronger. And there's always someone willing to give us a chance, as long as we prove our worth. When the segment ended, Amanda hugged Michael and Emily. Do you realize what we've accomplished? What we've accomplished, Michael said, emphasizing the we. Uncle Michael, Emily said, when I grow up, I want to help other kids like you helped us. And how do you plan to do that? Michael asked. I'll study hard, graduate, and start a cooperative for kids whose moms work. A place where they can study, play, and stay safe while their moms are at work. Amanda looked at her daughter with pride. What a beautiful idea, sweetheart. And you know what I'll call it? Emily continued. Bright Future Cooperative. Michael was moved. Emily, when you're ready to make that dream happen, you can count on me. Really? You'll help me? Of course. Just like your mom helped me, I want to help you help others. At that moment, Michael realized the circle was coming full. The girl who once slept on the street now dreamed of helping other kids. The janitor who felt invisible now inspired business owners nationwide. And he, who once thought only of profits, had discovered that true success lay in transforming lives. 3 months later, on a sunny Saturday, Michael received a special invitation. It was Emily's 10th birthday, and she wanted to celebrate at the cooperative's headquarters with all the aunties who were part of her life. The party was simple, but full of joy. Emily blew out her candles surrounded by 200 women who had watched her grow and cheered for her dreams. When it was time for the birthday wishes, she gave a speech that surprised everyone. Everyone, I want to thank all of you here today. You're my big family. When I was little and lived on the street with Mom, I never thought I'd have a birthday party. Today I have 200 aunties looking out for me. The women were moved. Many had tears in their eyes. And I especially want to thank Uncle Michael, who taught my mum she could dream big. Because of him, we now have this beautiful cooperative that helps so many families. Michael approached and hugged Emily. Emily, your mother already knew how to dream big. I just helped create opportunities for those dreams to come true. Uncle Michael, can I tell you a secret? Of course. Mom said that when you first met, you were sad. Is that true? Michael looked at Amanda, who smiled shyly. It's true. I was a very lonely person. And now, are you still sad? Now I'm one of the happiest people in the world. I have 200 hard-working women as partners, your mother as a friend, and you as my heart's granddaughter. Emily jumped with joy. Can I call you Grandpa Michael? It would be an honor. From that day on, Emily started calling Michael Grandpa, much to his and Amanda's delight. Michael, who had never married and had no children, finally experienced what it was like to have a family. A year later, on a Monday morning, Michael was in his office when he received a call that would change his life once again. Mr. Michael, this is the Department of Labor. Could you come to Washington, D.C. for an important meeting? Of course. May I ask what it's about? It's about your cooperative's work. The government wants to turn your model into a national public policy. Michael could hardly believe it. The work model created by a group of desperate women could become national policy. At the meeting in Washington, D.C., the secretary explained, Mr. Michael, we've studied the United Women Cooperatives model for 2 years. The results are impressive. Higher productivity, lower turnover, more satisfied employees and more profitable businesses. Secretary, the credit isn't mine. It belongs to the women in the cooperative. We know that. That's why we'd like to invite Ms. Amanda Wilson and Ms. Patricia Washington Jones to be consultants for the national program. Michael was thrilled. I'm sure they'll accept. And you? Would you like to oversee the implementation in large corporations? It would be an honor. 6 months later, the National Dignified Work Program was officially launched. Amanda became the director of training, Ms. Washington became a national consultant, and Michael coordinated implementation in major companies. At the launch ceremony in the White House, Michael looked at Amanda on stage and remembered the first time he saw her under the overpass. Who would have thought that desperate woman would become one of the country's leading voices in humane management? During Amanda's speech, Michael noticed how much she had transformed. She spoke confidently, cited statistics and proposed solutions, but she hadn't lost the humility and kindness that always defined her. This program, Amanda said into the microphone, isn't about charity or handouts. It's about recognizing that valued people work better, humane businesses are more prosperous, and just societies are happier. The applause was thunderous. Michael felt as proud as a father watching his daughter graduate. After the ceremony, during the reception, the president approached Michael. "Mr. Michael, congratulations on your exceptional work. How did this all begin?" Michael smiled. "Mr. President, it started on a cold night when I saw my cleaning lady sleeping on the street with her little girl. At that moment, I realized my success as a businessman meant nothing if the people who worked for me had no dignity. And today, we have 200 cooperatives across the country, over 5,000 women working with dignity, and hundreds of companies implementing humane management. But most importantly, we've proven it's possible to be both prosperous and just." When they returned to New York City, the cooperative threw a party to celebrate the national recognition. Emily, now 11 years old, insisted on being the master of ceremonies. "Everyone," she said into the microphone with the ease of someone already accustomed to events, "today is a very special day. Our cooperative has become national policy." The women cheered enthusiastically. "But I want to say something serious," Emily continued. "You know, when I was little, my mom and I didn't even have a place to live. Today, because of your work, no child has to go through what I went through." Michael was moved by the girl's maturity. "And I want to make a special request," Emily said. "Next year I'll be 12, and I want to start working at the cooperative on Saturdays as a volunteer. I want to learn from you how to change lives." Ms. Washington stood up from the audience. "Emily, sweetheart, you're still a child. You need to study, play." "Aunt Rosa, I study during the week and play every day, but I also want to help. Grandpa Michael always says we're never too young to make a difference." Michael smiled, hearing Emily call him Grandpa in front of everyone. Amanda stepped up to the microphone. "My dear, if that's what you want, you can start, but only 2 hours on Saturdays and only after finishing your homework." The audience applauded the decision. Michael realized he was witnessing the birth of a new generation of social leaders. In the following months, Emily threw herself into volunteer work with the same dedication her mother gave to the cooperative. She helped at reception, organized documents, and most importantly, played with the children of the cooperative members who brought their kids to work. One day, while Michael was visiting the cooperative, he found Emily drawing with a group of children. "What are you drawing?" he asked. "We're drawing our dreams," replied a girl about 6 years old. "Emily said when we draw our dreams, they become easier to achieve." Michael looked at the drawings scattered across the table. One child had drawn a house with a garden. Another drew a family together. A boy drew an airplane, explaining he wanted to be a pilot. "And you, Emily? What's your new dream?" Emily showed her drawing. A big school with lots of kids playing in the yard. "It's my dream school. A place where poor children can study for free and dream big like me." "You haven't changed your mind about the kids' cooperative?" "No, Grandpa, but I realized that before the cooperative, we need a school. How can kids work in a cooperative if they don't even know how to read?" Michael was impressed by the girl's reasoning. "Emily, you're 11 years old and already think like a social entrepreneur. I learned from you and Mom. You always say first we identify the problem, then we think of the solution." That night, Michael couldn't stop thinking about Emily's project. A school for underprivileged children based on the cooperative's principles: dignity, respect, and opportunity. The next day, he approached Amanda. "Amanda, I have a crazy proposal." "What proposal?" "What if we create a fund to make Emily's dream come true? A free school for the children of cooperative members and other kids in the community." Amanda was surprised. "Michael, that would be very expensive. I've had money sitting around for years. I never knew what to do with it, and now I do. I want to invest in these children's future." You'd really do that? I would, but on one condition: the school has to follow the cooperative model. Participatory management, respect for individuality, valuing everyone involved. Amanda hugged Michael tightly. Do you know Emily is going to lose her mind with happiness? I hope so. She deserves to see her dreams come true, just like she saw yours come true. When they told Emily about the school project, her reaction was even more intense than they expected. She cried, shouted with joy, hugged everyone, and then stayed silent for 10 minutes processing the information. Grandpa Michael, she finally said, does this mean I'll be able to help other kids like you helped me? It means you'll lead a project to help other children. It's different. What do you mean, lead? The school will be your responsibility. You'll be part of every important decision, meet every child, and help plan the activities. Emily grew thoughtful. But I'm still a kid. So what? Said Amanda. Your mother was just a cleaner when she started the cooperative. Age doesn't matter when you want to help. The school project took 2 years to get off the ground. During that time, Emily attended every planning meeting, gave input on the building layout, helped select teachers, and even suggested the name Possible Dreams School. At the inauguration in March 2028, the mayor of New York City was present, along with representatives from the Department of Education, business partners, and of course all the cooperative members with their families. Emily, now 13, gave the opening speech. Listen, when I was little and slept on the street, I thought my dreams were impossible. Today I'm opening a school to teach other kids that there are no impossible dreams, just dreams that haven't found the right time to come true. The speech moved the entire audience. Michael remembered the shy 6-year-old girl he'd met at the hospital and felt proud of the young leader she had become. The school started with 80 children, all daughters of cooperative members or local residents. What set it apart was that, in addition to formal education, the kids learned about cooperatives, social entrepreneurship, and citizenship. 6 months after opening, the school already had a waiting list. Parents from all over the city wanted to enroll their children in a place that taught not just math and English, but also human values and social responsibility. One afternoon, Michael found Emily in the schoolyard, talking to a boy who looked upset. What's wrong? Michael asked. This is Tyler, Emily said. His mom lost her job and he thinks he'll have to leave school. Michael knelt to the boy's height. Tyler, what does your mom do for work? She's a cook, mister. She worked at a restaurant, but it closed. And is she a good cook? Yeah, she makes the best food in the world. Michael and Emily exchanged glances. Tyler, how about introducing your mom to the director of our cooperative? We need someone to handle meals for the workers. The boy jumped with joy. Really? My mom can work with you? If she wants to, and if she's as good a cook as you say, of course. When Tyler's mom heard about the opportunity, she cried with emotion. Not only did she get the job at the cooperative, but she became one of the most beloved employees, responsible for feeding 200 working women every day. See, Emily said to Michael, the school isn't just for teaching kids, it's for helping whole families. Michael smiled. Emily had noticed something even he hadn't. The school was becoming a community support center, not just an educational institution. 2 years later, when Emily turned 15, Possible Dreams School was serving 300 children and had inspired the creation of 5 similar schools in different neighborhoods of New York City. At Emily's birthday party, Michael gave a special speech. Emily, when I met you, you were a sick little girl sleeping in a hospital. Today, you're a young leader who's changed the lives of hundreds of families. I'm so proud to be your grandfather in heart. Grandpa Michael, all of this was only possible because you taught my mom to dream big. And she taught me that big dreams come true when we work together with others. So what's your next dream? Emily grinned mischievously. I want to study business administration and then get a master's in social responsibility. Once I graduate, I want to create a national network of community schools. National? Yes. I want every child in America to have the same chance I did. I don't want any child to think their dreams are impossible. Michael hugged Emily tightly. The girl who once slept under an overpass now dreamed of transforming education across the entire country. You know, Emily, I'm sure you'll make this dream come true too. How can you be so sure? Because you've learned the most important lesson. Nothing is built alone. And you have a whole network of people willing to support your dreams. At that moment, looking around the party, Michael saw Amanda chatting animatedly with Ms. Washington about the cooperative's new projects. He saw dozens of children playing, all daughters of women, who now worked with dignity. He saw employees from his company mingling with the cooperative members like one big family. It had all started on a cold night when he saw a desperate woman shielding her daughter under an overpass. Now, 7 years later, that scene of despair had turned into a network of hope benefiting thousands. The unthinkable wasn't the help he had offered. The unthinkable was realizing that the one who had learned and grown the most in this story was himself. Michael Thompson had gone from being a successful businessman to becoming a fulfilled human being, and all thanks to a courageous cleaning woman who taught him that dignity isn't given as a gift. It's built together with respect, opportunity, and hard work. The end. Tell us what you thought of this moving story of overcoming adversity and transformation. Have you experienced anything similar? Share your thoughts in the comments. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss other inspiring stories that show how small gestures can change entire lives.